And I am live. We'll wait for some people to join me before we really get going. This is the pre-show. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. I don't know if you can see out the window, but it is snowing here, and that's just nuts. But it's not altogether uncommon for it to snow in March. Yeah, so we've got some things to talk about, and I'm excited about those things. I think I'm going to try to do this on Sunday mornings. I can't promise. I'm not advertising, but let's keep this going. I think it'll be a good thing. So, welcome. I'm Tom. I go by Two Turtle Tom. This is my channel. And this is the time where we can just talk from the Tortoise Room. I can give you direct updates on what is happening in the Tortoise Room, on my different projects. And really, I would love to answer your questions too. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about my work with turtles and tortoises? And what do you need to know about working with your turtles and tortoises? Or any pets for that matter. But we have a lot of pets in this house. So thanks for joining me. Please let me know who you are and what your name is. And better yet, what pets you keep. So I'm Tom. I work with hingeback tortoises primarily, but we have lizards in this house. We have several turtles species. We have things like three-toed box turtles, and we have a bunch of other stuff. So we're getting into chameleons as well. So let's get this started. Welcome. My name is Tom. This is Sunday morning Tortoise Talk live from the Tortoise Room, and let's talk about what's going on in the world. So first up today, I want to talk about a new episode of the Let's Talk Turtles podcast that I do with my friend Ryan, and we put out a new episode. We're catching up. So if you have not listened to that episode yet, please do. Find it at Let's Talk Turtles in Spotify or Apple iTunes. Excuse me. And guys, we could really use your help. Leave us a review. Let us know if you're enjoying what we talk about. Our goal there is to explore ideas. Ryan and I have a lot of varied backgrounds in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. What do those mean? Working with animals and species in the wild, but also in captive care settings, both in private and institutional settings. So our whole purpose for the Let's Talk Turtles podcast is to really explore those things that we do and think about how humans interact with turtles and think about how we can best conserve them so that they are around forever. We understand that there's a lot of people working with turtles and tortoises, but there is disagreement on how we best manage these populations of animals, both in the wild and in captivity. And quite frankly, I'm a strong believer that all species are influenced by humans, and we all need to work together to figure out how to best keep track and best conserve turtles and tortoises. So give the Let's Talk Turtles podcast a listen if you haven't already. Next up, let's talk chameleons. I have a new project that I started, and you might ask, when does a chameleon become a project, and when does it stop being a pet? Well, my buddy Sean McZoo, he hooked me up with a adult Trioceras honellii. This is a small chameleon about that big from Kenya, and I loved it, and I still love it. And so the goal is to find a male. And guess what? I did. Frams Cams is offering males and females, babies, 3 months. So I bought one and set it up. And so there's going to be more chameleon content as I look to produce Trioceras honellii. And I'm super excited about working with chameleons. And the little 3 month chameleon that I have is tiny. If you go to the community posts, you can see a picture. It looks big, but this thing is like that small. It is a very, very small chameleon. So, yep, take a look at that. The next up, how's the breeding season going? Well, I've got something to show you. I forgot to get it. I'll be back in just a second. So if you go back to last spring, you will see a video of Gladys. And Gladys is a female Western Hinchback tortoise that Sarah from North Carolina entrusted me with the care of Gladys. And Gladys had some issues with dystocia, which we talk about on the Let's Talk Turtles podcast. But Gladys laid this giant egg. Hey, look, it kind of looks like my head. Haha. She finally laid an egg. She's been trying to lay. She has been continually digging, and she laid this egg finally. Now, what's interesting is she, one more time, tried to lay eggs, but at least we got this massive thing out. She's never been with a male. This egg is very, very calcified. I don't know if you can see how this extra layer of calcium kind of shows up there, but man, it's just super duper calcified. That egg has been in there a long time, and thank goodness we got it out. My goal for Gladys is to really give her healthy food and make sure she grows better, faster, and quicker, and then pair her up with an animal that I acquired from the Mid-Atlantic Turtle and Tortoise Society. And hopefully the goal will be to run 4 bloodlines of the Western Hinchback tortoise. And one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is someone asked me a question. They said, sometimes you say you do not sell animals, and sometimes you say you do, or they know I do. Well, I do sell and make money from my surplus animals. However, I don't sell them myself. I collaborate with someone named Jay Frewer of turtlesandtortoises.com, and he is the go-to person, in my opinion, if you're looking for a captive bred Hinchback tortoise. There are several other people that are working with Jay to offer Hinchback tortoises. Right now, you can pick up Connexus homiana, the Holmes Hinchback tortoise, captive bred from Jay. I'm not sure who produced those animals right now. I currently don't have any animals available with Jay, but if you are interested in working with Hinchback tortoises, the best place to go is turtlesandtortoises.com, Jay Frewer. We've worked very well together, and that's where I offer my surplus. So here's my distribution strategy for the baby Hinchback tortoises that I produce. And if you haven't seen my videos, come take a look. I've got lots of pictures of baby tortoises, lots of videos of baby tortoises. But for my bloodlines that I produce a lot of animals consistently, those are the animals that I'm offering for sale through turtlesandtortoises.com. Jay sells them for me. Essentially, I pay him to sell the animals. That's how that works. And so I don't sell them to Jay. Jay is kind of like a broker. He helps me find the buyers and does all the shipping and answers questions. But I don't work with Jay for it to be a mystery. I work with Jay because I just simply don't have time to talk to lots of different people and be shipping tortoises. I sit on my butt 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day driving to and from my day job. So I partner with Jay, turtlesandtortoises.com. That's where you can find my surplus hingeback tortoises, and those are the animals that are fairly common. They have fairly common bloodlines. For my new bloodlines, I give those to people. I place specific bloodlines with other people, why is her name escaping me? Brianna in Virginia, who's working with the species. And so getting genetic individuals that are unrelated to different people so that they can work with hingeback tortoises, that's also part of what I do. But surplusing some through Jay Frewer, yes, I absolutely do that. Okay, so let's reset. Thank you for joining me. Please let me know who are you? What is your name, and what turtles or tortoises do you keep? Do you keep turtles and tortoises? Do you have any questions about the care of your turtles and tortoises? I've been keeping tortoises since I was about 6, tortoises since I was about 14, turtles since I was about 6. So this channel is all about turtle and tortoise keeping. Please do let me know your name. Let me know if you keep turtles and tortoises or what pet you keep. And if you have any questions about the care of turtles or tortoises, let me know. Welcome to my channel. I do a weekly live with a guest every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And so this week on the Two Turtle Tom live show, I am going to have Dirk Barnard. Dirk is from South Africa. Dirk has kindly agreed to stay up late and appear live on the show. We probably should do a test before we go live, but I'm really excited because South Africa is one of the centers of diversity, if not the center for diversity of tortoises in the entire world. There are hingebacks, the padlopers, the geometric tortoises. Of course, they have leopard tortoises there too. The angulata, Quercina angulata, and Dirk works to, excuse me, rehabilitate tortoises, and he is really, really knowledgeable. And guess who's going to be my guest host on Thursday? Put it in the chat if you think it's not Matthew. Matthew decided to step away from the show, but I will have a new guest host. So do tell me your name. Let me see. Yep, I don't think we've got... at least I can't see it. Do tell me about yourself. Tell me about the animals you work with. And, I'm here because I like to talk about hingeback tortoises. One of the more serious things I want to get into is talking about the headlines. So this week and last week, we had 2 major poaching incidents splash across the headlines. And these are people, both in Florida, that participated in collecting wild-caught turtles, and mostly turtles, and then selling them outside of this country. And so one of the big questions about this is, why with so many captive bred animals are the people in Asia wanting wild-caught turtles and tortoises? Now, I mean, I can't tell you exactly why. I've never been there. I haven't talked to them, but let's think about it. Turtles and tortoises are amazing creatures, and the shell, that round, perfect shell, is what is so distinctive about them, right? And as we know, as experienced turtles and tortoise keepers, and let me know if you keep a turtle or tortoise, it is really, really hard to replicate the perfection of a turtle or tortoise that has been grown in nature, and to have that absolutely smooth shell. So it's stuff like that that I think why wild turtles are valuable to people in Asia. They tend to have better coloration, smoother shells, and they just look perfect. They look like the pictures they've seen. And so my guess, that's why there's still a demand for this. And folks, let's step up to the plate. Let's call this stuff out. If we see anything fishy, anything where we think a wild turtle may have been poached for any reason, let's call it out. Thanks, Lollipop. Welcome. And Lollipop, do you keep turtles or tortoises or any other pet? Let me know. I'd love to have a conversation. Sometimes I wear turtle and tortoise shirts. But yeah, I will tell you why I get so angry when I see these headlines. Because there are some in the turtle world that think that private keeping of turtles is worthless. In fact, the American Zoological Association now has a specific campaign called notapet.net that is calling for people to not glorify turtle keeping. Now, there's a whole debate on whether private turtle keeping can be conservation or not. But what I see is that people like the AZA are reacting to the headlines, the few bad actors who participate in illegal poaching activities. And yes, they are engaging with law enforcement to crack down on these things. But at the same time, they're saying the answer to turtle poaching is to not keep turtles. The answer to turtle poaching is to not keep turtles. And as you know, people that breed turtles and tortoises that's sort of like the opposite message that they say. They say the answer to tortoise poaching is to breed turtles and tortoises. So we have this incredible disconnect between your traditional conservationists that work for government and work for nonprofit organizations who are saying the answer to turtle and tortoise poaching is to eliminate pets. Well, guess what? That's not going to work here in this country. Number one, we've been established keeping turtles as pets for 70 years. We're not going to get rid of that. And number two, the demand isn't in the United States for wild-caught turtles and tortoises. It just isn't, in my opinion. Going back to what I was saying earlier, people from Asia, they tend to really value these wild-caught perfect turtles and tortoises as specimens so that they can show off for their friends on Facebook. And if you go on Facebook, you can see lots of accounts, which are typically in Asia. And I love Asia, guys. I love Asia. But let's face it, when you look at where these tortoises and turtles that are being poached in the United States, they are going to Asia. In the US, we love baby turtles. That's what we want. We have a culture of baby turtles going back decades and decades. So Lollipop says they're a good pet and animal. Absolutely. We love turtles and tortoises. So we have this major disconnect in this country between people that breed turtles and tortoises and keep them as pets and the professionals who want to conserve them, right? So random vid 772s, can you see some? Yes, we can get out. We can, if you stick around for a couple more minutes, yes, we'll talk about and we'll show you some turtles and tortoises. They're all around me. So that's why we have this disconnect. Essentially, we have the people that are primarily, that work for government organizations that are saying the answer to turtle poaching is don't keep turtles as pets. And then you have this other side of the equation, people that keep turtles and tortoises, breeders, small batch, large volume breeders, and they say the answer is, in situ or ex situ conservation, which means, breeding as private keepers. Now, stay with me. Why is this a problem? Because, well, there's this great divide. And today, what we have is different. These two sides are saying that these two things that we're doing are actually different. So you have the people that are keeping turtles and tortoises, and what they're doing is saying, this isn't conservation, it's preservation, and preservation is what we are doing, and preservation is what matters, and we need to focus on preservation. That is the true answer. Preservation is it. Keeping tortoises alive in captivity is preservation, and that is the answer. That is the answer. That is the answer. And then you have the other side that is saying, well, true conservation is in situ conservation, and we need to protect these things in the wild, which we do, and anything done outside of a non-governmental organization or government is not conservation. And traditionally, that's some of the people like my good friends, Jeremy Thompson and Anthony Pierleone, have tried to tell the private turtle keeping world that they're not doing conservation, they're actually doing preservation. And I get it. I get why they are doing that, because most people aren't doing conservation when they have a pet turtle, okay, quite frankly. But I think the better way, the better model for us as a turtle community to talk about this is by looking at what we call in situ conservation. That is what Anthony is arguing is conservation. But then we have ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation is what zoos are doing. Personally, I believe that we as private turtle keepers can also do ex situ turtle conservation. So that is my soapbox for that. And let's go to the chat. Let's talk turtles. Let's have some more fun. And so Lollipop, thank you so much for joining me. Lollipop has a parrot. What kind of parrot do you have? Interestingly, birds, exotic birds can no longer be imported into this country. There's been a federal law that says that. Will turtles and tortoises be next? You have to think that the traditional conservationists will target that, just like birds can no longer be imported. So, okay, Lollipop says, how do they eat cactus? So, tortoises that you see eating cactus on the internet are eating something called, I think it's called Opuntia ficus indica, and that's a spineless cactus. So that's how they eat it. Now, in the wild, are they going to be able to nibble around those spikes or spines? Yeah, maybe. But that's how they do it. People are feeding them the spineless variety. Lollipop says a rainforest rainbow parrot. Now, I've never heard of that. Might it have another name? So one of the other things I want to talk about is like turtle and tortoise products. What are the turtle and tortoise products that you use? And how can we as a community encourage entrepreneurship around the turtle and tortoise world? How can, oh, Lollipop says her parrot's name is Lucky. But yeah, how do we do that? I think we need more products for us, by us, quite frankly. I mean, Will Espenshade, to me, is a example. A small business producing items specifically for turtles and tortoises. But I simply don't see that in other genres. So, I'm thinking about it. Like, what could I produce that would serve the turtle and tortoise community? So Lollipop has a parrot named Lucky. Does Lucky say any words? Let us know. Let us know. If you like this, please do give it a thumbs up. That helps. And if you're just joining us, the way this works, we have a lot of people coming in and coming out. My name's Tom. I have a lot of tortoises, specifically hinchback tortoises. Like to talk about them and take your turtle and tortoise questions. What is it like to have 40 or more tortoises? Is that a good idea? Why do I have 40 or more tortoises? So Lollipop says, do I have a turtle? So we have 6 turtles in our collection. I have 5 3-toed box turtles that are all former pets, wild collected animals that now live here. And the purpose of having those animals is to give them a long-term home, not to breed more. And so I also have a Eastern painted turtle, and the Eastern painted turtle is our pet. He lives in a 75-gallon aquarium at the top of the stairs, and we all greet him every morning and say goodnight as we end our day, because he's in our landing area in our house. So Lollipop says she has a parrot, and she says Cracker and Papa and Apple. That's fun. I will tell you, I had birds once, but birds are high maintenance compared to turtles and tortoises and reptiles. They just have, they're warm-blooded, they're fast metabolism. So Bathyphilla's next. So Bathyphilla, I just talked about these 2 terms of conservation and preservation, and thank you for contributing a really nice long comment last week. And quite honestly, my answer was quick because I didn't have a lot of time. But I think us as private keepers, identifying what we're doing as preservation and keeping it separate from conservation, I think that is a disservice to the animals. Conservation and preservation are defined together. If you look up the definition of conservation, it will be defined by preservation, and if you look up the definition of preservation, it will be defined by conservation. So here's my long answer to you, Bathyphilla, is that instead of trying to separate what we do as preservation, keeping reptiles and amphibians as pets or reproducing them, what I like to do is let's include us as part of the world as conservation. Let's tell hobbyists how they can participate in conservation. And it can be what we call ex situ conservation. So conservation away from the wild. Now, there's some things we're going to have to do to make it be ex situ conservation and not just pet keeping. But I think that recognizes the importance and the value of what people do that set up assurance colonies, track bloodlines, and yes, absolutely. So just reading Lollipops, you have 6 turtles. Yes. yeah, I have 6 turtles and a lot of tortoises. So that's my thought. I think the better model for what we do and how we should talk about it is ex situ conservation and in situ conservation. And when people like Jeremy Thompson or Anthony Pierleone, who are my friends, but we are able to have solid discourse to help advance turtle and tortoise keeping, I think when they separate what we do, tends to put us in 2 different camps. And I'm a uniter, always. I'm always a uniter. I'm looking for ways to bring people together. Lollipop, the short answer is I don't know. That's how many animals we have. I'd have to make a roundup of the house. Yeah, and exactly. And it's complex, Bathyphila. And so I think there's some things that we can do to be conservationists. And one thing we can do to be conservationists as private keepers is to support professional conservationists. And the number one way to basically throw professional conservationists under the bus is to come out and lobby against a key tool that conservationists use to protect and preserve wildlife, and that is the Endangered Species Act. The Endangered Species Act is absolutely critical to conservation, and I think a better course of action is to lobby the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to approve captive bred wildlife permits. Now, I've heard a rumor that we will be able to engage in commercial trade of endangered species across state borders, but instead of having permits, instead of a blanket permit for all transactions, it will be an individual permit. So Bathyphila says, yes, the attitudes of some towards the ESA is very short-sighted. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. And my goal is trying to open up the minds of people that can't see the bigger picture. I don't deny it's been very impactful. However, I think it does not prevent us from keeping assurance colonies of endangered species and sharing them as private keepers with each other. And that's what it's all about. It's for the turtles. It's managing the turtle population. So if all of my hingebacks were no longer able to be bought and sold across state lines, would it change what I would do? So I would say that I wouldn't be selling surplus animals for pets. That's what I would not be doing, because I am doing that now. And if my species became on the federally endangered list, I mean, I could do that within Ohio, and Ohio's a big state, but I certainly wouldn't be selling it across state lines. So would that decrease the number of animals that I produce? Yeah, probably. Would it hurt the turtle population? Or would it hurt my assurance colony? Would it hurt what the Connexus Working Group does? No, it doesn't hurt turtles. And so we need to think about the big picture of turtle and tortoise conservation and how our efforts fit in with those. I know it's very, very difficult. I respect someone that is working with an endangered species that suddenly that wasn't before and suddenly becomes endangered. And then we wonder why. Why did this happen? Why doesn't the federal government respect our efforts as private turtle and tortoise keepers? Hey Dan, yeah, I'm talking about Conservation and Preservation and Endangered Species Act again. And so, we get so mad at that when, and rightfully so. I get it when a species is listed as endangered species. Okay, Greg is here. Greg says, it's the selling and monetary exchange the agencies are looking at hardest. Most will agree that assurance colonies and captive populations of rare species are a good thing. Absolutely, absolutely. And so, Greg, it separates us. So if we get so mad at the federal government for listing an endangered species, and then we come out and say the Endangered Species Act is dumb, we're just reinforcing to the professional conservationists, of which I am, because I wear both hats. I should have two hats on my bald head. And many of us are, but you're just reinforcing that you're not supporting them, and we're not people that they should be working with. So that is the absolute problem. Dan is multitasking, cleaning tanks. Thank you, thank you. Lollipop wants to see the turtles. Keep watching, Lollipop. That's the teaser at the end. Okay, so Bathyphilus, and guys, this is what we want. We want to know what your thoughts are. And this is a no judgment zone here. There's no personal, we're not going to judge you personally. This is a trusted space where you can talk to us. So Bathyphilus says, what are your thoughts on cohabiting individuals of the same species together? I've seen some very polarized opinions on the topic. So let's go back to that, but I want to, go to what Greg's Turtle Haven says. He says, I'm always working with my state and Fish and Wildlife Service on ways to help preserve and conserve because it takes a multi-pronged approach. The biggest hurdle is government works slowly. And I'll tell you them, Greg, I read ahead. And they will tell you that themselves. Greg, congratulations. I am so happy for you. That is such a great time. My youngest baby is now 7, so. Okay, let's talk about cohousing. So why is cohabbing controversial? Well, because it's an advanced practice. We don't want to recommend cohabbing to the new keeper. Like if you're brand new at keeping a turtle or tortoise, then cohabbing is not a good idea. Because you don't know enough about the animals to know what the heck you were doing. So if you're starting off, you need to learn one animal per enclosure. I mostly have one animal per enclosure, and that is also an advanced technique because it helps me keep track of how much one animal is eating. How is this animal pooping? But I think that if we cohab, we can introduce what we call biofeedback and even intra-species cohabbing. You see this a lot at zoos. Saul Bauer, Columbus Zoo, this is the kinds of things he's doing. You're seeing animals cohabbed, and it works, and it can work. And an animal in the wild is going to see other animals. So cohabbing, to me, is advanced, but something we should, as ethical herpetoculturists, strive to do. So that's my take on it. Okay, so I'll tell you, one of the challenges with showing you turtles and tortoises is that my phone isn't in great. It doesn't have great signal down here, but let's flip the screen, and I'll be able to show you some. So here is my typical tortoise tub for one hingeback tortoise for the female. So guys, this is Blondie, and Blondie has a particular story. So she's a Western hingeback tortoise. So sometime before 2000, She was collected from the woodlands and savannas of West Africa, put in a holding pen, shipped to Florida most likely, or New York, and then distributed to a pet store. Somewhere in Northeast Ohio. And then Blondie was... So, guys, sad story. I lost a female from dystocia. And this girl I found on Facebook, she was being offered as a elongated tortoise. And she was living on the reptile floor of a gentleman in Dalton, Ohio. And this girl barely had much life left when I got her. And she has become just the most incredible tortoise. So, Bethy Phyllis says they've heard cohabbing can make turtles more bold. Have you guys found that to be the case? Oh, got a yawn. I don't know. That's a good question for Greg. I wonder what Greg thinks. I mean, turtles, aquatic turtles, get used to people really easily, and they know that you bring them food. And so aquatic turtles are extremely bold. No matter what no matter what. In tortoises, I think it could actually cause the reverse. You could have one very bold and aggressive tortoise in the group, but then you could have other animals that just kind of hide in their shell. Why do turtles sleep so much? I don't think they do sleep so much. Lollipop, why do you think they sleep so much? These guys are awake all day long and sleep for about, half that time. But, yep, they're up all day long. They're not sleeping. If you do see a tortoise or turtle that's sleeping a lot or just sitting in its shell, then that's likely a very stressed or a very sick tortoise or turtle, or both. So this week, guys, on the live, if you love tortoises, do come check out the live. Dan says, I have a female spotted that's a little brat to the other girls. Once a male is in there, she changes her attitude. Yeah, so that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that we now know is that we've discounted turtles, tortoises, and reptile behavior in general. If you go back and read any book from about the 70s and before, they all start off with, these are just stupid, lumbering animals, but they're kind of cool. And so that's why we're going to write a book about them. But we now know that turtles do amazing things. They have amazing behaviors. And it was just our own biases that we just sort of said, like, yeah, they're not smart, so we'll give you that. But all of these old books, it was almost like they had to justify why they were writing a book about reptiles. And that shows you how far we've come. And now we're talking about turtle and tortoise behavior. So they have smarts. They recognize you. They know you're going to feed them. And yeah, that's the dealio. Hey, Mike, welcome. No problem. I haven't decided if I'm going to do this every week. It's just kind of a morning decision that I kind of go on and update everyone. But I have a very exciting live coming up, Mike. Dirk Bernard from South Africa. We're going to talk about South African tortoises. Okay, Lollipop says he saw a video, or she saw a video of a turtle sleeping, and they said that they're lazy, and then they go into their so she's to protect themselves. So they're not lazy. They're not lazy, Lollipop. That was not a good video. Put a link to that video in the comments if you can find it again, because yeah, I mean, this is what turtles do. They're not lazy. If I put this turtle with that turtle, they would start to fight. They would start to fight, and they would try to flip each other over. So turtles like calm. They like peace. They tend to be animals that stick to themselves. And yeah, that's kind of why they get this rap as being lazy. But if anything, they're just sort of calm and peaceful. So the other kind of myth that's out there is that turtles and tortoises, like every species has its own personality. And take a look at this animal. So this is Brownie. Okay, Lollipop, hey, thanks for checking in. And do subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. So this is Brownie, guys. So you can see she's... Nope. She is quite timid. Bathyphila says, yeah, the field of ethology pre-1970s was very focused on interpreting animals as mechanistic automatons. Yeah, that is right for sure. Awesome, Lollipop. Well, hey, I appreciate you being part of the community here. I will not be going to TTPG, Dan. For many reasons. But, yeah, I will not be going. But I know Ryan and I are trying to, well, mostly Ryan, but we are working on... he is working on possibly having a Midwest sort of herp symposium or herpetoculture symposium. That's just an idea. That's just an idea. It's something that he and I would like to do, and give something for people in the Midwest that could drive, 3 or 4 hours. Arizona is a bit tricky. Oh yeah, Ryan. So Bathyphila says he or she. Bathyphila, please tell me your pronouns. So focused on avoiding anthropomorphization that they swung too far the other way. Yeah, that is right. I mean, it just brings me back to my childhood, right? Just the dumb animals, like they're machines. Yeah, yes. And Dan, Ryan is from the Cincinnati area. So, Cincinnati is it's definitely Midwest, but it's also a third south. So, in the Cincinnati area, I can get there about 4 hours. Kentucky, Tennessee people, Atlanta. We hope to draw some people. Indiana, Illinois. It's pretty easy to, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. That's just an idea. But Dan, if that's something you are interested in, I haven't talked to Ryan about it in a couple months, but that is, a really good, let's try to get together in some place that's closer to us. So, okay, here's the room. Try to be nice and calm. for people that need some cleaning of some of the glass, getting this worked up for one of the westerns. Megan is cooking a turkey, so I'm going to get these guys some giblets. There's Ethel and Fred. Both Ethel and Lucy are gravid. I've palpated them, and there we go. So let's flip this around. Let me take a look at my notes here just to make sure I got to everything I wanted to talk about today. Dan says, Arizona is a nice excuse for a getaway in mid-November here, though. Yep, I agree. It's beautiful there in November. So yeah. It's been a good week. Do watch Dirk. And, just kind of to summarize this is that I think the best model for us as people that breed assurance colonies of turtles and tortoises is the ex situ conservation model, and that we can be partners with those that do in situ conservation and those that do nonprofit those that do nonprofit ex situ conservation, like zoos and aquariums. And we can be partners, but we have to have mutual respect for each other. And we have to support things that are important to each other. And that's what's not happening right now from either side. If you take me and split me right down the middle, I'm both. And I'm evidence that you can be, you can do assurance colonies, and you can be a conservationist by keeping turtles and tortoises. And you can also be a in situ conservationist at the same time and support critical laws and regulations in this country that professional conservationists use, like the Endangered Species Act. So, Bethy Phila, are you planning on trying some of the Canicus outdoors this year? So, in general, my strategy is to have the Western Hingeback tortoises outside during the daytime. I have, I have 8 adults and 5 sort of juveniles, and it's kind of difficult to get those all out on a daily basis. I will not keep them overnight outside. They're just too valuable for many reasons. So my rules for the Westerns are they only go outside if it's 70 degrees or higher when I'm home, and they come in at night. And that's worked pretty well. But there's always risk when you put your turtle or tortoise outside. Will it be stolen? Will it be predated? I've taken a lot of precautions, and I love keeping turtles and tortoises outside. That's really what got me back into this. I started keeping Brownie, who I had for 20 years. I built her and Shelmer a giant enclosure. So Dan says, I think this winter has been an odd one for risks, all the up and down temps. Yeah, it sure has. I will tell you, I have a big garage and I can heat it, so it's heated to 40 degrees, but I can't cool it down. So, all the box turtles are up, and today it's snowing outside. It's just nuts. There's the snow, and you can see it coming down. So Jack is here. Jack, I watched some of your videos, and oh, Eliza's here too now. That way we can start the chameleon hour. But Jack's 9, guys. Jack is my biggest fan, and thank you, Jack. You get that moniker. You are my biggest fan, and I thank you for watching all my videos. I thank you for sharing them, and I thank you for making a video, encouraging people to subscribe to my channel. That is so cool. So Eliza's here. Eliza, I led off today talking about a new acquisition, and I got a male helmeted chameleon that's captive bred. Eliza, I was looking at your videos the other day, and your Jackson's chameleons, particularly. They would be a good species for me too. And so for my turtle friends, I want to tell you the whole story on how I got into chameleons. And, oh yeah, 2 chameleons. That's right. So here's the deal with chameleons. And quite frankly, chameleons for me can be fun. Turtles and tortoises are a project. And I mean, they're fun still, but it's a lot of work. Jack, yes, make a video of your alligator. I think that's super cool. We can't have alligators in Ohio without some pretty rigorous permits. So I have this really cold basement. Okay, our house, we have a split level, and it has all these different levels. It's a very kind of modern split level, and our basement is really, really deep. And that means it's really, really cool. So there are these high altitude montane chameleons that live in Kenya that would be perfect for my basement. And so, believe it or not, Jackson's chameleons, they are high altitude. Nairobi, Kenya is about on the same altitude as Denver. And then Mount Kenya rises to the north of Nairobi. So it was either, Eliza, it was either captive bred rainbow Jackson's chameleons, or as Bill calls them, the Machacos Hills Jackson's chameleons. This is a smaller subspecies. The ones that get really big are the Xantholophus from I think the northern side of Mount Nairobi. What's really interesting is that the traditional big Jackson's chameleons that we all know that got imported into Hawaii and now escaped are like really from a very small range. And there's a bunch of other Jackson's chameleons, but they're all known as Jacksonii, and the one that's in the pet trade is this thing called the rainbow Jackson's chameleon, or as Bill Strand calls it, the Machacos Hills Jackson's chameleon. And so we could call it Jacksonii, but Jacksonii is this bucket for like all the other Jackson's chameleon subspecies that haven't been named yet and probably should be. And so it was either between that or the other animal that's imported from Kenya a lot, that is the Honellii, and that's a smaller chameleon, but it's cool. It's called the helmeted chameleon. It has a nice helmet on top of its head. It has a cone on its nose, and it has this really interesting jagged frill on its beard, and then it has a crest running down its back, and the males especially can show blues and yellows. So it was either between those two species. They both like and need cold temperatures at night. So my basement, 60 degrees, and that's not a problem for me to get my basement down to the temperatures they like. And quite frankly, I can get it below 60 in places when it's really cold outside, like 58, 56 degrees. So that's the way I went. And Sean, so basically I said the first one that becomes captive bred, or that becomes available that's captive bred, yeah, I'll go with that. So Sean McNeely needed space for a project, and he said, hey, I have this a helmeted chameleon. Are you interested in it? And I said, yep, let's try it out. And so that happened in the fall, and I said, wow, this is amazing. And I thought about pulling the trigger on a wild-caught male, but I just kept telling myself, nah, something will happen, and I'll find a captive bred one. And sure enough, on Bill Strand's Chameleon Academy chat, which Eliza is also a regular member, Nate Rowley said, I ordered a captive bred helmeted chameleon from Fram's Cams, which is, quite the chameleon place. And I messaged them. They didn't have them on their website, but they said, yep, we have a litter, basically. These are, you know what I like, Eliza? And Eliza says she's going to specialize on the Montaignes. I am too. And especially Honelli. It's two. This is my small batch breeding project. But they don't lay eggs. They have live birth. And that's cool. And so I got a picture from Fram's Cams and got that animal this week. So any chameleon fans here? I will tell you that Bill Strand's Chameleon Academy outreach has been amazing, and I'm certainly trying to do my best to build a turtle community and tortoise community as well. But man, these helmeted chameleons from Africa, they fit with my African theme. I've got my new African mask. Love that. Got that for my birthday. I want to start collecting those to celebrate the culture and the people of Africa, along with the animals. But yeah, I've got the African river tank now, and the chameleons. The new baby chameleon, Eliza, there's only African plants in that enclosure, every single one of them. So Jack, I will check out your alligator, and I am curious though, what are your plans long term? Do you have an American alligator? And yeah, it's gonna get big. What are you gonna do? That's a lot. So let's see, what is Jack's? Cool. Well, let's see, Bathyphila. Chameleons are one of those animals, like monitors, that I wanted when I was younger. But now that I'm older, I realize I don't want to deal with the husbandry, mainly the feeders. I mean, Bathyphila, I will say this. They're not a set it and forget it kind of animal, but they're close. So I have a colony of dubia roaches for the kids' bearded dragons. We have 2 bearded dragons. And so I had dubia roaches, and the helmeted chameleon eats dubias. Now, we just supplement with crickets, with mealworms. I just offered silkworms for the first time. But literally all you need to do is make sure your water reservoirs are filled and feed them. And maybe wipe some poop up every once in a while. Now, I keep smaller species too. I think that's one of the nice things about them. Eliza says feeders were rough for me for a while, but I eventually got used to them. Now I'm the crazy bug lady. So, Eliza, what feeders are you raising? I'm really curious. Dan's son wants a bearded dragon. Dan, they're awesome. Okay, I never had one. I was of the age when bearded dragons were really, really expensive when I was kind of into herps. And I mean, I can remember walking into the Cleveland Reptile Show, and it was like in an auto workers hall on the west side. And there were bearded dragons in there, and they were just kind of like perched, big ones. And I thought they were the coolest thing in the world, but they were hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, one thing that I really loved about living in Florida was all the gecko on the sliding glass door at night. Okay, Jack. Jack, you got to go. And you know what, guys? I just realized it's 12 o'clock. My buddy Kevin, the Tortoise guy, does a live at 12 o'clock. Do go check out Kevin's show. The Tortoise guy, he is a crazy guy, okay? But he loves tortoises. Yeah, is he all over the place? Absolutely. But you can't ask for a better guy than Kevin. So go check out the Tortoise guy. Friends, I really appreciate the conversation. I will try to do this every Sunday at 11, but I won't be announcing it. For now, it's just a casual thing. Really appreciate the chat. And, I want to sign off by just saying, if you see wildlife crime, if you suspect poaching, report it. Call the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Call your local wildlife agency in Ohio. That number is 1-800-WILDLIFE. Let's shut down poaching so we can continue to enjoy reptiles and amphibians as pets and be part of the conservation world for as long as we are needed. Eliza is working on a colony of crickets. Those are hard. Silkworms, superworms, mealworms, and grasshoppers. Grasshoppers, I need to know more about this. I will keep buying black soldier flies, houseflies, blue bottle flies, and waxworms. So, Eliza, thank you so much. Mike, Dan, Jack, Bathy, Phila, have a wonderful Sunday, and go check out my buddy Kevin, the Tortoise guy. See you later.